Not good news for Arsenal. Looks like the injury list of Arsenal is really extending day in, day out. And guess what? Mikel Arteta, while conducting his press ahead of the game of Brentford in the Carabao Cup, has gone ahead and revealed to us the following: that Bukayo Saka hasn't trained today and he's not gonna be available as Arsenal takes on the side of Brentford down in London. Welcome to Rockani Media Football. How are you guys? And where are you watching us from? I go by the names of Rock and David. Smash the like button, comment and share. If you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. And this is really a moment that will obviously see very many Arsenal fans grieve about this, because they really want to have their star boy with them all the time. So let's see how everything really goes on as not planned by Mikel, because it's not the best that he wants for his team. That is it. We all know that Arsenal is having lots of injuries and Arteta is not a happy man for the injuries. That is obviously telling the media. Now, he has gone ahead to talk about Declan Rice. He has talked about Leandro Trossard. He has talked about Gabriel Jesus and the cause of injuries that are really accumulating at the club of Arsenal. So we are here and we're going to be live for some, 30 minutes as I prepare to obviously go to the United Matters channel to do the match day live between Manchester United and the club of Crystal Palace at Old Trafford, as things really happen at the club in there. So let's wait and see how things pans out. But don't forget to smash the like button, comment and share. If you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Let's gear up for yet another exciting edition of this story that has gone ahead to emerge, that has gone ahead to shock very many Arsenal fans all over the world. But for my case, I see it as a huge positive for the fans of Arsenal. Now, Declan Rice is one of those players that obviously called for moving out of the game as Arsenal drew with Spurs 2-2. And today, Arteta has gone ahead to give us a fresh update about Declan Rice and when he's expected to obviously coming through and obviously start doing the needful for the club of Arsenal. He has said Declan Rice hasn't trained yet. He couldn't carry on in the game. He wasn't comfortable at all. Hopefully it's not something big. We are confident. He's still uncomfortable. Obviously he had to leave the pitch, but hopefully he will progress in the next days. It's a tough one for me. Now, I really feel for Mikel Arteta and the injuries he's really getting at the club of Arsenal. I've always gone ahead to let you know that it really hits hard, especially in moments like this, when you are a manager like Mikel Arteta and you are really having such injuries left, right and center that are obviously coming in and obviously distorting your job. Declan Rice has gone ahead to stabilize in at Arsenal very, very well. And you wouldn't like him to obviously get an injury in this moment, because him settling in at Arsenal has gone ahead to obviously seize every noise about how much Arsenal went ahead to pay for this player. That is it. So that means that Arsenal now have a reason to obviously brag on how good they really went to do their shopping. But with Declan Rice settling in, he found himself really injured in the game of Tottenham Hotspur. That is really a red flag when it comes to how everything is supposed to be really going down at the club of Arsenal. You wouldn't like to see your big guns like Declan Rice really getting injured. And the other first player who fit into that team of Arsenal like a glove was none other than Julian Timber. He also got an injury, and it would have been really all praises to the club of Arsenal ever since the season started, as their two players are really thriving from one end to the another, like Julian Timber and Declan Rice. But as things stand, it's not the way. It really looks something different altogether, and the levels at which they're deteriorating because of injuries is really annoying. When you look at Martinelli, also is out. Let me count for you injuries: Partey, Julian Timber, Declan Rice, Martinelli, Bukayo Saka. Those are 5 injuries troubling the side of Arsenal, and you wouldn't like to be into that situation. And Arteta's gone ahead to obviously have a say about all these injuries that Arsenal are really having. He has also going to talk about Leandro Trossard and Gabriel Martinelli in the mix, and we're here to bring you everything that is said about these 3 players. So don't forget to smash the like button. Smash the like button, comment and share. And if at all you're watching us for the very first time, endeavor to subscribe to this channel so as not to miss out on stories that we do upload in here on a daily. Now, let's go to what he said about Leandro Trossard, because for Declan Rice, we all know what it's all about. And it's a back injury. It has to really worry Arsenal fans. Remember what Arteta really had to say onto William Saliba when he got an injury last season. You remember what he said? They are all optimistic that he's obviously going to return very early. But did he return very early? He did. So I think Arsenal fans have every reason to worry. But all I know is that it's better to have injuries affect you at the start of the season other than when they come in through at the end of the season, like Arsenal really saw Thomas Partey, really saw the other player. What was his name? Gabriel Martinelli, William Saliba, Gabriel Jesus. You understand? You need to have your players all fit. That is it. That's what you need. You need to be having your players all fit to obviously come out and obviously represent you every time you need them. So I think it's obviously one of those tricky moments for the side of Arsenal as far as these injuries are concerned. And I know Arteta is obviously looking to see to it that he gets these players back. But I think it's high time he obviously started to rotate players. Give Emile Smith-Rowe some time because he deserves it, according to me. He has gone ahead to work his ass off. That is Gabriel Martinelli. That is Emile Smith-Rowe. Rest Nelson getting a go into these fixtures. I think that's the way to go. And I think Arsenal will obviously thrive and obviously become a better team as far as those injuries are really concerned. Then Arteta had the following to say about Leandro Trossard. Leandro Trossard, remember, he's also injured, and he gave us a huge update onto these players of Arsenal. Whoever player of Arsenal that is really injured, that really matters in this occasion, Arteta has gone ahead to throw some huge light about his injury and what we expect from these players. Now, let's go to Leandro Trossard and see what exactly Mikel Arteta had to say about Leandro Trossard. Arteta said, Trossard won't be available for tomorrow. Let's see day by day. Hope he improves and whether he's got a chance for the weekend or not. He did some activity and that's where he felt it. He wasn't comfortable to carry on the session and the day before the game, and he hasn't trained yet. So for Leandro Trossard, he's out also. He's out also, and rumor has it that they might be ready for the game of Man City. And for Leandro Trossard, one thing I'm going to hit on about him, even if he really returns from injury, he doesn't come back injured. He's obviously a player who obviously keeps fit and keeps going every time he is really invited to get the job going. That is Leandro Trossard for you, and I think that's some good news for Arsenal. But we wait and see how Leandro Trossard is going to obviously go out and figure out to obviously return at the club of Arsenal. He was in a fine form, as I told you in the first video of the day. He was really in a fine form. Leandro Trossard was really in a fine form. Guess what? He had 3 goal involvements in 2 games. Scored against Everton, scored against PSV, registered an assist for the goal of Gabriel Jesus as Arsenal took on PSV at the Emirates. It shows you exactly what this boy was about and the energy that brings in at the club of Arsenal that is really immense, that is needed every time at the club of Arsenal. So for my case, I really believe that it's going to be one of those hard days for the side of Arsenal because these injuries are really accumulating huge and fast, all thick and fast. Then about Gabriel Martinelli, Arteta had the following to say that tomorrow is too short for Gabriel Martinelli. Let's see if we still have this for the weekend, but those players won't be available. Thomas Partey is still not available either. It's a long list, as you said. He added and said, it's the same with Julian Timber. You know that one, and it's the situation that we have at the moment. We have to adapt to the squad that we have at the moment is really short, and we need players back, that's for sure. Obviously, every manager wouldn't like to find himself in a situation that Arteta is in right now. But as I told you, that this season, expect lots of injuries to come in through. Do you know why? Players played a lot of football last season, and they are not given enough time to rest. That is it. If these players were really given a lot of time to rest, then the rest would have been history. But they were never at all given enough time to rest. That's why you saw to it that very many players are really getting injury. And these injuries are really happening to players who are really who are really there to obviously. These injuries are happening to players who really played lots of games. Declan Rice played in the World Cup, played for West Ham, and played until the Conference League finale. When you look at Martinelli, he almost played every game for Arsenal until he got injured. He played in the World Cup too. Trossard, the same thing. Thomas Partey, for him, is an injury-prone player. Julian Timber, not an injury-prone player, but he played too much football last season. Played in the Eredivisie, played in the Champions League, played in the UEFA Europa League, played in the World Cup, right? So it shows you how huge it is for Arsenal to manage, and you'll obviously feel for Mikel Arteta just for these injuries, because it's not good news for him that he's really having very many players injured, and he's obviously trying to figure out what the situation is. And all this comes in through when Arsenal have just gone ahead to lose their first team doctor or the head of science to Manchester United, and injuries are obviously really surging. It shows you that he was a very good player, all good, doctor that side to obviously get it to where it deserves to be. Now let's go to the big one of Bukayo Saka, and Arteta had the following to say about Saka's fitness levels. He said he was limping quite badly after the match. As you know, we had to get him off the field, which is never a good sign as well. He hasn't been able to participate in the session today. So Bukayo Saka has not been able to train for Arsenal today, as Arsenal got ready for their game of the Carabao Cup to take on the side of Brentford tomorrow, as I'm coming to cover you and bring you the predicted starting 11 for the side of Arsenal. But to me, I remember here, I came out and really talked about Bukayo Saka and his injuries that he's playing with nagging Achilles injury. I remember one of the Arsenal fans into the comment section told me that you are not the doctor, he should be played. And I told him that if they continue to play him, he might lose out his career. Now, Bukayo Saka needs to be rested. If it's a surgery, he needs to get it. Because the moment he continues playing like that, he will reach an extent and turn out to be a Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba had the same injury, and he kept forcing it on the field of play, and now he cannot even play 2 games. He plays 1 or 2 games, goes back and gets injury. That's why you saw to it that he wanted to increase his levels of testosterone in him, and it costed him, and he might find himself banned for 4 years because of those levels of drugs found in his body. So I don't want to see Bukayo Saka reach that level, unless otherwise you do, but Saka needs to rest. And for me, this is a blessing in disguise. Arsenal should find means of winning games without Bukayo Saka. If I'm Mikel Arteta, I would sometimes try to play Martin Odegaard into Bukayo Saka's position. I would start to obviously try out, what's the name of the guy? Kai Havertz into that position of Bukayo Saka. I would try out very many things to obviously make it count for this team, because you have very many players. Reece Nelson can play that side. Emily Smith-Rowe can thrive that side. You can even try Nwaneri onto that position of Bukayo Saka, because if Arteta happened to trust Bukayo Saka at that age, because it's now coming to 3-4 years ever since Arteta started managing Arsenal, right? And that means Bukayo Saka at that time was just 18. Nwaneri is 16-17. Why don't you trust him with the goal and start playing that position? Saka is out. Arsenal fans shouldn't mourn about it. I think they should just be really happy that he's not going to be part of the Brentford game, because let him use this 1 week to rest and see whether the nagging ankle or Achilles injury will obviously come to pass. So Saka is out for that fixture, and I know it's really not good news for Arsenal fans, but I think it's a blessing in disguise. Let him come back as Arsenal plays in the weekend, where I think they're going to play Bournemouth there for you, because they have Bournemouth, they have Rennes in the Champions League, then I think they're going to play Manchester City. Not so? So I think it's better for Arsenal to get Bukayo Saka rested for the next 3 fixtures, because I believe they are very much important than these other games they're going to play. Arsenal has a job to do to beat Man City. They have to beat RC Rennes, because when they beat Rennes, that means they'll be just 4 points away from qualifying to the round of 16. And remember, they have a double header of Sevilla. If they don't win it and Sevilla really wins it, then that will obviously put dark spots into their urge to obviously qualify for the round of 16. Now, we are having Mwemenke James. Oh my God, even Saka, Saka's gonna hate to join the injury list of Arsenal. Then Mawanda John, hey Mr. Rokani, David, Saka, Martinelli, Rice, they shouldn't be on the hurry. The biggest match to worry about is Manchester City before 8th. We should at least get some recoveries. And I think Arsenal have the players that can obviously kill off these games. Let's be realistic. Arsenal have got the players who have the quality to kill off these games. And let no one lie to you that this cannot happen. This can happen, and Arsenal can obviously thrive better and better and better. But the problem has always been that these people don't believe that Arsenal can win without these players. You know, I told you that the game of Brentford, I'm going to come and give you the match preview, but I think the players are variable, can obviously come in through and win this game once and for all. That is it. If you really doubt this, then you need not to even be an Arsenal supporter, because Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, Martinelli are really good players, but even the other players remaining can really get the job done and dusted. That is it. If you really doubt that, then you need to obviously research on the quality of the players that Arsenal are really having. Emily Smith-Rowe, Fabio Vieira, Jorginho, who else? Emily Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, and very many others. Jacob Kivios. It's high time they got a chance to play into these beautiful fixtures of Arsenal, because they have to get going in there for you. Now, Arteta was asked a very huge question on whether it's because of the Champions League that is linked to these injuries. And Arteta had the following to say. Let me even flash it on your screen and obviously see it. Arteta was asked on whether it's so much attached to Arteta was asked on whether the number of accumulating injuries at Arsenal are really attached to the Champions League. He said, we've only had one Champions League game, and it's still early. It's true that they've played with the national teams, and it comes from the season that they had a World Cup, and so many players played 60-odd games. He added and said, it's a lot of things, but as well, we've been unlucky with the injury of Julian Timber, which is for other reasons. Saka was because they stepped in. There are some traumatic injuries, others that are more muscular, and we try to find the right reasons to try to avoid them. So, I don't think the Champions League is really a problem, and I saw some people putting out their thoughts as to why Arsenal went ahead to obviously draw with Spurs, that Arsenal players were leggy because they had gone ahead to play the Champions League. Now, why doesn't Man City have players legged out because they've been playing in the Champions League for the previous how many seasons, ever since Pep Guardiola came in here? So that's not the reason. I think the reason is simple, that injuries are part of the game. That is it. They are part of the game, and it's always better to manage your squad better. And we've all gone ahead to see to it that Arteta told us that he wants 2 players every position, and he confirmed to us that he now has 2 players in every number that can easily compete. So I see no reason to mourn about injuries because Arteta prepared for this season. And the season of 2020 to 2023, where Arsenal finished second with 4 points behind Man City, Arteta had gone ahead to call in for this. 2 players per position. That's what he called in for, and it was given to him. Now, who is to blame? No one is to blame. Arteta should use the players that he's still having at Arsenal. Let me confirm to you that Arsenal has 2 players per position that can obviously compete, apart from one position that is of Bukayo Saka, but they also have some other players that can obviously get the job done and dusted. Now, in goal, Ramsdale and David Raya, that is it. Right back, Cedric Soares, Ben White, and Tomiyasu. Left back, there is Zinchenko, Julian Timber can play there, Tomiyasu can play there, Jakub Kiwior can play there. Then on the right-sided centre back, you have Ben White, Saliba, and Julian Timber. Left-sided centre back, you are having Gabriel Magalhaes and Jakub Kiwior, but even Tomiyasu can come in through and play into that side. There is even Julian Timber who can come in through and play into that position, right? Then in the single play or in the midfield, you're having Declan Rice, Thomas Partey, El Nini, Jorginho, one position. Odegaard, Fabio Vieira, Kai Havertz, Emily Smith-Rowe, all playing into the midfield. Then left forward, Emily Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, Leandro Trossard, Gabriel Martinelli, even Gabriel Jesus can play there. Those are close to 5 players in one position. Centre halves, all forwards, Gabriel Jesus, Nketiah, and Kai Havertz can play that side. On the right attacking side of the midfield, I think Saka can play there, Trossard can play there, Odegaard can play there, and which other player? Kai Havertz can also play there. And I think the easiest player to obviously play into that position would have been Martin Odegaard. That is it. Get Martin Odegaard, play him as a right attacking midfielder. But I know what Arteta is afraid of, because with the quality and talent of Odegaard, he'll obviously prove to Saka that this is how they play this position. And I think some managers really afraid to expose their players. But even Fabio Vieira is a player who can play onto the right forward of Arsenal. So I think that's not a point to obviously come in here and obviously be even bothered with. All I understand is Arsenal are really ready to obviously thrive even without these players. I'm having Mwemenke James. I think this is the time of Emily Smith-Rowe to shine and Reece Nelson. That's it. That is it. It's time for them to come in through and obviously put in a shift that obviously is well required. And if at all I don't see Emily Smith start tomorrow, then it's obviously going to be one of those that will obviously bring in Arsenal to where it deserves to be. James, Mwemenke, I prefer Saka to be out than Rice. I told you that for Saka, there are very many players that can do and get that job done of Bukayo Saka. But that midfield, the energy that Declan Rice brings to the midfield of Arsenal, the physicality, is really one of those that you should be really worried about. Then, on Gabriel Jesus, on how Jesus is performing ever since return from injury, he said he had a big impact in many areas of the pitch on the weekend, and he was really helpful in many moments when we became really dominant through our high press with the moments that he produced. That is it. So he said it's true that in the final third we need to produce more. We have to be more ruthless there, and we all know that, and we have to help the players to improve that. I think Jesus was very good. I think at the weekend he had a very good game and he continues to perform. Now, Jesus is one of the most important players at Arsenal. And that's why most of us were really shocked when we saw to it that Arteta took him off and brought on, and left Eddie Nketiah on the pitch. It is said that the reason for that doing was they are trying to manage the injury of Gabriel Jesus. So, you give them the benefit of doubt for that, but he's a kind of player who obviously gifts you lots and lots and lots of things. And the most important bit of Gabriel Jesus is he makes all players that play next to him better. That is it. Now, the huge admission that I've seen coming in from Arteta is his team not creating enough chances. I've gone ahead and really told you that when you look at last season, the player who scored very many goals in the Premier League and the season in the Premier League and other leagues together was Erling Haaland. Do you know how many chances he missed? He missed close to 40 big chances, but scored close to 60 goals. That is Erling Haaland for you. Now, for Jesus, he missed like 10 chances, meaning that if you want a player to score very many goals, you need to create very many chances for him. That is it. Create him very many chances. The big reference was in the game of PSV. I came out and told you that Jesus had 3 chances and scored 1. And that is for any clinical striker. Now, if every match Arsenal can create 3 chances for Gabriel Jesus or for any other number 9 that is leading their line, they will be obviously anticipating for what we call a very huge performance and obviously getting those goals at the back of the net. But the moment they don't create chances, they are going to find themselves in a position of obviously not living their dream. So what Arsenal should do is simple. Arsenal should create more and more and more chances for their number 9s. And I think it's really good to see to it that Mikel Arteta has gone ahead to admit that his team doesn't make very many chances. That is one of the things that you have obviously to agree to obviously move on. By the way, if you want to obviously admit, if you want to move on in life, you have to admit that you are having a problem. After knowing that you're having a problem, then you continue doing the needful for on your side that will help you get better and better and better. Now, I'm having Lucky Eddie Obelon, Hero Rokani. Thanks for the update. Following you from Entebbe, Uganda. Thank you for watching in through. Babulia Paul, we love you. I love you too. Then Christopher Ismat, bro, when will Timber come back? Around March. That is it. Timber will be back around March. Richard Sempija, Mr. Aradi, good evening. I'm Richard in Uganda. I'm still disappointed. Why do you think Arsenal played poor on weekend? Because for the team chasing for the trophy, you can't miss out that much. Why do you think Arsenal played poor on the weekend? By the way, I think it was a game of two halves. If you watched it very well, it was a game of two halves. Arsenal controlled the lion's share of the first half. That is it. Those Spurs had much possession than Arsenal at half time, but the fact was Arsenal had more threatening chances to kill off Spurs than Spurs. The problem is Arsenal never made those chances count. The biggest chance of the game was when Jesus pressed down James Maddison and he really faced the goalkeeper and obviously went high. You know, he would have gone ahead to complete that chance. That is it. But however much that chance came, it was created by Jesus. It was not created by other players. I want to talk about chances that Arsenal players have gone ahead to create for Jesus and Jesus misses them. That's what I want us to discuss because Jesus pressed James Maddison very well and forced James Maddison to surrender that ball to him. Now, where are the chances that we are created for Edin Ketia, chances that we are created for Jesus and many other forwards of Arsenal? That's what Arteta is complaining about. You know, I think Arsenal played very well in the first half. The second half, they never really had a very good go. So you say the team chasing for the trophy, you can't miss out that much. I want to let you know that Man City wins trophies because they create very many chances. Go ahead and obviously see the game of the game of Nottingham Forest versus Man City. Haaland missed chances. Haaland missed chances when they're playing the Champions League in their first game, you know. But what City does, they don't stop creating chances. They create more and more and more and more and provide a lot for the player that is Erling Haaland. That is it. I'm having Bayan Al-Bashar, Ameguna, but always wanted a chance to see Saka create space for Nelson, such that Arteta can know the potential in him. I also feel for Emile Smith-Rowe, he's been benched a lot. Now, I think tomorrow, these two are obviously going to start. One will start either in the midfield, that is Emile Smith-Rowe, either in the midfield or as a left forward. and Reece Nelson is going to come in through and fill the boots of Bukayo Saka. Reece Nelson is talented, but there is no player who can come good without regular football. That is it. So Reece Nelson is really a very good player, and he needs to get in more playing time from the side of Arsenal. And I think with these games coming in thick and fast, the manager needs to find means of obviously starting him certain games and obviously putting Bukayo Saka on the bench. And this is where Arsenal have a point to address in January. I've seen talks of a number 9, but I don't think a number 9 is a problem. I think the first position that Arsenal should think about is all about bringing in either Pedro Neto to obviously do the job for the club of Arsenal and coming through to really act as a competitor for Bukayo Saka. Because if Pedro Neto or any other left forward player playing into Bukayo Saka position was at Arsenal would have gone ahead to obviously know that we can now accept Bukayo Saka to undergo a surgery. That is it. But I think without that, Arsenal aren't having good days. I'm having HY Rokani. I like the point that you made regarding having injuries earlier this season. It will give Arsenal a huge advantage second half of the season when players are fully fit. Yeah, it's going to give Arsenal a full advantage. And if at all these players are not going to come back early, Arsenal will attack the January transfer window hard to get in players to help them through until the end of the season. That is it. Then Bayern Al-Basha. Arteta cost us a Spurs game last week to play Eddie Nketiah 90 minutes. That is it. I went ahead and said it, that although people don't like Kai Havertz, but I believe Kai Havertz would have gone ahead to do a better job as a forward of Arsenal than Eddie Nketiah in such games. Because in such games, you need players like Kai Havertz, whose experience is really vast, and they are so much well-versed with the situation of playing in big games. But Eddie Nketiah really never showed up on the occasion. Lucky Eddie Obelon, immediately after former Arsenal physio crossed to Man United, now they have started suffering from injuries. That is it. And he might have been the glue to Arsenal players not having very many injuries. So guys, thank you very much for watching through. Rokan David remains my name, and I call it out for now. The next video is going to be about Arsenal versus Brentford preview. I cover you all in the precious blood of Jesus Christ. May the living God bless you abundantly. Rokan David remains my name. I'm out. The Muslim viewers and subscribers